Okay, so this is going to be packed. Some of you have heard this before. I created this just a few months ago, and it has a ton of information. Let me, darn it. I need to get this off my screen. Okay. Yeah, and many people do not like numbers. They don't like research like I do. And that is completely fine. I completely understand that. My wife is in the same boat. She just wants to know that something is good or something is not. And then she goes with it. She runs with it. I want to know the why behind everything, and probably to a fault. So that's what I love about what I'm about to present, is that I'm not just going to spend the next little while just telling you, go out and get your Ningxia. It tastes great and it makes you healthy. And then we leave it at that. You are going to know, even if you don't care about research, even if you don't care about numbers, you don't care about stats, it doesn't matter. You are going to know that something is backing up why I would say that. So we're going to jump right into it. First of all, let me introduce, well, he's not actually here with me, but I'm going to introduce a guy by the name of Gary Young. He was on a mission many years ago. He's on a mission, as have many people embarked upon this mission, just to find what creates longevity. Like why do some people, every time something happens, I think my wife's trying to log in, sorry. Every time something like that happens, we'll have to jump out. Okay. All right. He's on a mission to find why people live longer. And what he found were the greatest densities of centenarians. We're talking 100-plus-year-olds were located in certain regions, one being Ningxia, China. It's a location in China. We're going to jump right into this. And let me preface this whole thing by saying I sifted through dozens, probably hundreds of research, of actual literature on whole foods and on Ningxia wolfberry in particular, and I had to leave the vast majority of it out of this. And that was, to be honest, that was really stressful for me, because there's so much more to this story than what I'm going to give you. I had to get rid of most of it, and I'm just left with what I would consider the most impactful. But there's, again, it's a fraction of what's out there. So let's talk about Ningxia China real quick. This should interest you. Look at Ningxia. Look at where Ningxia China is, right above the sea. It's the orange. And think about how big China is. So you can see it there. Ningxia is just this remote location. It's not like Beijing that has millions and maybe a billion people. It's a remote rural area that doesn't have a lot of people. And look at this stat. There are 16 times more centenarians in that little spot than the rest of China. We're not talking 16 times the percentage. We're talking about numbers. We're talking about 16 times the number of centenarians in that spot. So something should be intriguing about that. Something should be of interest that's happening there. We should be looking into that. And that's what Gary Young himself had done. So here's what their primary diet consists of. Wolfberries, of course, we're going to be talking about the Ningxia wolfberry. That's not a, I'm looking at my wife talking up in the corner, if you can see that. Everybody hit mute if you can find the button. All right. Wolfberries, we're going to be talking about Ningxia wolfberries, but they feasted on sesame seeds, walnuts, raisins, longan, mutton. Longan's a fruit, mutton's sheep meat. Take a look at this. There's 3 herbs that are treasured in all of China, not just Ningxia. What do you think they are? We've heard of at least 2 of them. One is green tea, one is ginseng, and the other is the Ningxia wolfberry. More benefits are ascribed to the Ningxia wolfberry than any other natural ingredient, any other herb found in China. And they know that the Chinese as a whole know this, especially, of course, Ningxia China. And here's a side fact. We'll get into more of this, a significant amount more into this. The Ningxia wolfberry extract, so we're talking minute amounts, has been found to inhibit cancer growth by 58%. So we're going to be getting into some of those types of research, but I just think that's interesting. So when you see significant improvement in immunity, liver, heart health, blood sugar, cancer outcomes, just know that there are stats to back that up. So I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm going to apologize right here, right now. There's going to be a lot, and you are welcome to tune most of it out. It doesn't matter to me. I want you to get the point. The point in the end, if you don't get anything else, the point in the end is that there's literally nothing on the planet in whole food form that is like the Ningxia wolfberry. And because Ningxia red is the product that we consume daily as a family, and thousands, tens of thousands of other people do as well, there's no product on the planet that will compare to it. And I think for those that have seen this presentation, I think if I can play off of how they felt after this presentation, you'll probably agree with that. You don't have to, just pay attention enough to know that there's really nothing that compares to this. So these are the things we're going to be going through. Once again, we're leaving out most of it. There's just no way to cover it all unless we have a 3-day workshop with you. So I want to start with the basics. I apologize. I have that thing across the top, if you see it, that says like all my controls for Zoom. And I just don't want to shut everything down, so I don't know what to do about that. All right, this says whole foods versus isolated nutrients. There's a big difference. We are taught in Western culture, Western society, Western science teaches us that isolated nutrients, isolated vitamins are exactly the same as a vitamin you find in whole foods. And I'm not talking about the grocery store. I'm talking about whole, real foods that grow out of the ground. And I will say this over and over today, that they're absolutely not the same. And in fact, they can have opposing results on your system. So, and I'm not saying that the information I'm about to unleash to you applies to all supplements, but I can promise you it applies to the vast majority of supplements on the market today, therefore making it very, very difficult, if not impossible, to be a consumer today and actually get the right products in your hands without having easy access to truth, without actually having easy access to real solid information. If you just go off of media headlines, what's in catalogs and magazines, you're in big trouble. You're in big trouble. So let's get right into what I mean by this. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Again, this can be kind of a lengthy talk, but I do want to give you a picture. For the first half of the 1900s, this is when people started becoming educated on vitamins, because they found that certain diseases were treated and cured with vitamins. So for about 50 years, vitamins were like this magic pill. And they cured like scurvy, and various others. For the last half of the 1900s, people took that to an extreme and said that isolated vitamins, you could, by treating yourself with isolated vitamins in high doses, then you're going to be cured of anything and everything, which means they're going to start fortifying foods with synthetic isolated vitamins. And now, since the turn of the century, we are beginning to realize that, it's probably more than isolated vitamins. There's probably more to it, and more to it in regards to, if you eat a whole food that is high in, let's say, vitamin C, there might be other constituents that are involved in that process of healing. So here's the problem. Let me get my notes ready. The recent research is very contradictory now, and it's tough to understand what's going on, because one day you can hear one thing, and then the next day you can hear quite the opposite in regards to what's healthy and what's not. So much of the research now is showing that there's either no benefit to isolated nutrients, or there's actually a harmful effect. Let me give you some examples. Death rates begin to increase at 150 IUs, international units per day, or more of vitamin E. That's one example where there can be a harmful effect. U.S. Preventative Task Force finds that routine supplementation with vitamins A, C, and E is ineffective at what they were originally prescribing these vitamins for: atherosclerosis, cardiovascular disease. They're finding that there's no effect whatsoever on those diseases, on those problems, with supplementation with those vitamins. This is the one that I want to focus your attention on. This is one I want you to implant in your head, at least for the next 5 or 10 minutes. Beta carotene supplementation. Don't worry about trans. There's two forms of beta carotene. There's cis, there's trans. They're basically the same. It's just a twisted molecule. Like carrots are mostly trans. I think they're like 98% trans, but it doesn't matter. We'll just call it beta carotene supplementation over a 5 to 8 year period. Increased cancer risk by 8%. So naturally afterwards, when people were originally taking beta carotene for cancer prevention, naturally afterward, probably the next day, the headline reads, beta carotene is ineffective at lowering cancer risk. Of course, actually, they actually treaded lightly on that. They should have said it increased cancer risk, but they just kept it even and said beta carotene is ineffective at lowering cancer risk. Remember that. Beta carotene is not just ineffective at lowering cancer risk, it caused an 8% increase in cancer risk. Remember that. 4 or 5 slides down the road, we're going to see something pretty alarming. And I'm getting a little bit of noise, so everybody check your mute buttons and please mute yourself. So, Western nutrition science. Let me get a definition out of the way. I call Western nutrition science nutritionism because of this. Excuse me. It involves studying one nutrient at a time. One nutrient at a time. Scientists today, if they can't isolate a variable, if they can't isolate something, see, every form of science today, at least medical or health science, in Western culture, Western science is trying to find either one cure for something or one cause for disease. They're trying to find the cure or the cause. And they're trying to isolate the one thing. And I hope for all of you that you see a problem with that right off the bat before I even explain anything. So let me read this. Even the simplest food is packed with vitamins, nutrients, phytonutrients, trace minerals, making them in Western science impossible to analyze because nothing is isolatable. I don't even know if that's a word, but nothing is isolatable for Western scientists. What they're also called would be reductionist scientists. They're trying to reduce everything down to one variable that either causes disease or cures disease. So that means that whole food cannot be analyzed. And the problem with that is it takes the nutrient out of the context of the food, it takes the food out of the context of the diet, and it takes the diet out of the context of the lifestyle. And all this means is that none of that science applies to us. None of the science that we are given on the daily news, the journalists that repeat headlines they see in health articles, health magazines, literature, published peer-reviewed literature, none of it applies to us because in nature, we never are exposed to one nutrient at a time. Nothing in nature exists in and of itself. It's always a part of a system. So our science doesn't apply to us, but yet that's the science we use That's the science we believe in. That's the science we trust. And I don't care what we're talking about right now. In terms of health, there's a lot of problems, whether it's pharmaceutical science, whether it's medical science, whether it's nutrition science, it doesn't matter. They're all using the exact same formula. And there are problems with that. Moving on. All right, this study was, you're going to get several studies, and these, I love these things. This study is crazy. It's out of the Netherlands. I'd love to go there. Zutphen, I think I pronounced that right. Zutphen Elderly Study. 667 men were studied for 10 years. Just a little bit of noise. Get a little bit of noise. Mute yourself. Love you, whoever you are. 667 elderly men over the course of 10 years were studied. The first 5 years, we found that those that consume the most flavonoid-containing foods, we're talking whole foods, and flavonoids are some of the most potent antioxidants on the planet. They had a 52% less chance of dying from heart disease. Crazy. So what do you want to eat? You want to eat food first, and you want to make sure that it's rich in flavonoids. So the next 5 years, what they did was they took out all the isolated nutrients, the isolated vitamins that these people were supplementing with, namely vitamin C, E, and beta carotene. I'm still getting a little bit of noise, so please check your mute button, please. So over the next 5 years, they took out isolated nutrients from the diets of these individuals. Look what happened. The risk of heart attack deaths dropped from 52% for those that consume the most flavonoids to 68%. You see what's happening here? Vitamin C, E, and beta carotene, isolated C, E, and beta carotene was preventing these people from having the least chance of dying from heart attacks. You can interpret it like this. It indicates that not only the power of whole food, but also that the vitamin component actually increased mortality. Think about that. That's crazy. And we aren't given these types of studies. They don't tell us this in the news, at least not here. So for me, it's obvious. Study after study showing whole foods behave much better than vitamins alone. What's being found in whole foods is that the non-nutritive, the non-major vitamins are working in tandem. They're synergistically working with the vitamins that you're typically supplementing with. And that's what gives you the crazy benefits. In whole foods, you can think of any whole food, any piece of produce you grab out of the supermarket, you can think of it as a multivitamin, and it comes as a package deal. Literally, think of an apple. There's over 12,000 known, and I'm sure many thousands of unknown phytonutrients, micronutrients, phytochemicals, macronutrients, vitamins, 12,000. Find me a multivitamin off the shelf in pill form that can do that. I get it. I crack up over that title every time. When I created this, I was a little worked up by some of these studies, and then I just titled the slide based on emotion. So I apologize. But it is true. Think of this, a large prospective cohort study. And this is the study that I want you to refer back to, that beta carotene study, where there's the people that took isolated beta carotene had an 8% increase in cancer risk. Look at this, 1,271 people showed that a risk of dying from cancer was 70% lower for those eating the most beta carotene containing green and yellow veggies. Did you catch it? Do you catch why I titled the slide that? Please, everybody, I need you muted. I need everybody to check their mute button right now, because this will be recorded. Actually, it is recorded, I hope. And I don't want a lot of outside noises. Please, everybody, mute yourself. There's somebody not muted. Okay, and I can't see who it is, unfortunately. Let me see if I can. See, I can't even get my cursor. I'm sorry, I apologize. find the mute all. Can anybody tell me who's? Hey, we got it. Sorry, I hate to expose people's names. Maybe it's my wife. I bet it. No, it's not my wife. That's me. What is going on? It's this phone, I think. No. Got it. Sorry, I won't call her out. Thank you for being patient with me. I apologize for that. So, back to this. Did you catch what is crazy ridiculous how they worded this? This was literally how they worded the article or the research. 70% lower for those eating the most beta carotene containing green and yellow veggies. These people ate food. They ate whole food, and yet they automatically want to isolate one thing out of it. They want to isolate beta carotene out of tens of thousands of nutrients. So what are they going to do? They're going to have a headline the very next day that reads, beta carotene shown to cut cancer risk. And if anybody's really paying attention, they're going to be like, wait, a few years ago you said that it is ineffective at lowering cancer. Actually, it increased cancer by 8%, but now it cuts cancer by 70%. And if somebody doesn't know, if somebody's not paying attention, they're going to see this headline. They're going to hear it on the morning news. Beta carotene cuts your cancer risk. And what are people going to do? They're not going to go and get green and yellow veggies because that's not what the headline reads. They're going to go and get a bottle of pills that's isolated beta carotene and increase their cancer risk by what? 8%. You understand that our science, our Western science, does not work. Everything needs to be isolated, and it's not working. And this is what we trust as a society, and we got to get off that boat. So I'm going to present to you a lot of research today, but it's going to be outside of Western science. A lot of it's in Asia, or within Asia. That's what I meant. Okay, so free radicals. Sorry, I get worked up once in a while, and there I go again. Free radicals are highly reactive oxygen species. They basically need an electron, and they will get that electron. And free radical production by your body is the aging process. And I will talk about that more, but sugar acts like free radicals. So just a natural breakdown and metabolism of sugar creates free radicals. So the fact is that we all create free radicals. Nobody on this planet is going to not have free radical production. There are people that have figured out a way to reduce free radical production by reducing, one would be sugar intake, or at least refined sugar, high glycemic sugars. But it's not even that. It's mental stress can cause free radical production, physical stress, chemical stress of all sorts. There's a lot of ways to create free radicals within your body, and there's also many, many ways of reducing that production. So here's what it's kind of like. Nobody's going to be completely free of free radicals. So picture your body kind of like a car. You can choose to fuel your car with high octane gasoline, and there's still going to be exhaust that comes out of your car. But is it going to be cleaner fuel? Absolutely. So we all have metabolism that creates free radicals. Some of you have just learned to reduce that effect. So here's just a quick picture of what free radicals look like. In the first picture on the left there, you can see that oxygen atom has lost an electron. Most of the time we find these in cell membranes. So in the second picture, you see that it's going to steal an electron, and then it's going to leave the scene. And that next atom is going to want to steal an electron. And it's just this domino effect until cells just destroy themselves, and it keeps spreading. This is literally the aging process. I apologize for having that thing in the way. So I am going to tell you what that title says once I get it on my paper. Polyphenols outperform vitamins in a big way. That's what that says. Here's what I want you to see. The superoxide, the headline on this chart says superoxide, not the headline, but the top of the actual chart. Superoxide, hydrogen peroxide, hydroxyl, singlet, those are all free radicals. The only one I want you to focus your attention on is superoxide, because when superoxide grabs its electron, it forms many of the other free radicals in your body. Superoxide is the biggie. It's the one, I don't have a percentage, but it would be the vast majority of free radicals that exist within your body. Look at the free radical scavenging abilities of whole foods versus vitamins. When I say scavenging ability, I mean the ability for these foods and the antioxidants, the flavonoids, the polyphenols to trap and basically feed those free radicals the electron that they need so they don't cause harm to your body. I mean, it's a factor of 5 or 6 in many cases, if not more, when you're in the 50s and 60s for whole foods, and vitamins are anywhere from 2 to 20. It's an enormous difference. So where should we focus our attention when we want antioxidants and free radical scavenging ability? It's whole foods. It's not even a contest. So it's well known that those that produce the fewest free radicals, we've already talked about this, if you produce the fewest free radicals, since that's the aging process, of course, you're going to live longer. You're going to have a higher life expectancy, longer life expectancy. But think of this as well. If you are able to have the highest level of, I feel bad giving you this term, SOD, which is superoxide dismutase, think of that as just antioxidants. Antioxidants you get through food allow the liver to produce SOD. You will see this a few times, so you might want to just remember SOD is what gets rid of, it's what scavenges free radicals. It's what you want as much of as possible. You want your liver producing that your entire life in big amounts. Okay, so if you produce the fewer free radicals and you allow your liver to produce a lot more SOD, think about what that means. You're not defying the aging process. Like, I'm not going to tell you you're going to live forever, but this is the way that you are going to benefit your longevity in the biggest way. This is where you're going to get your biggest bang for your buck. So reducing free radicals, that's limiting physical stress, mental stress, chemical stress. Sugar intake would be part of that, of course. But then also consume the foods with the highest level of antioxidant capabilities to get your liver to produce SOD. Okay, so we'll get back to that. Now let's just hit on the nutrient profile of the Ningxia wolf berry. This isn't Ningxia red. This is the Ningxia wolf berry, which is pureed into Ningxia red. I don't want to go through all these numbers, and you probably don't want me to, but it doesn't take any more than a few seconds to realize how high those numbers are compared to basically anything else on the planet. You are going to hear me say over and over and over again, the Ningxia wolfberry is the richest known whole food source of this. It's one of the top 10 whole food sources of this. It's top 3 in this, whatever. You're going to hear me say over and over that stat. And I don't know how else to say it. There are so many nutrients that the Ningxia wolfberry is the richest known whole food source on the planet in. It almost just gets redundant. It's almost just expected by the end of this. I mean, calcium, potassium, there's nothing. I'll just unleash the secret right now. Potassium, there's nothing on the planet that comes close to the level of potassium that Ningxia wolfberry has. Calcium, huge. Magnesium, protein, that's a percentage. It's 15.6 protein by weight, fiber 21 grams. Vitamins are off the chart. B1 and B3, richest known whole food source of those two. Vitamin C, it's 3 times the level of vitamin C as an orange, a serving of Ningxia wolfberry. There's nothing on the planet that even compares to this nutrient profile. It's like a multivitamin in a berry. I'll just unleash all this. More vitamin A than a carrot. So where do you go to get your vitamin A? Everybody knows carrots. Eat your carrots. More vitamin A than a carrot. Richest known whole food source, like I said, B1, B3, 3 times the vitamin C of an orange. Potassium, magnesium, more calcium. When I go for calcium, I go to green veggies, not your milk. I mean, if you want to drink milk, that's fine. Try to get raw if you can. We don't drink a lot of milk in our house, and that's fine if you do. But it'd be awesome if you went as natural as possible and as raw as possible. But calcium in green veggies is where it's at. You absorb like all of that in your green veggies. But the Ningxia wolfberry happens to be even a better source than that. It's the highest known whole food source of potassium. Mineral profiles, we are significantly deficient in minerals worldwide, really. The quantity of minerals is off the charts, but one thing I want to turn your attention to is the balance. You can't just supply yourself with minerals and be okay. You have to have perfect balance or your digestive system screws up, your muscles screw up, your heart screws up. The balance between minerals is just as important as the quantity. The balance between magnesium and calcium is 1-to-1 in the Ningxia wolfberry. Zinc to copper is 2-to-1. Potassium to magnesium is 8-to-1. Those ratios in the Ningxia wolfberry are identical to the ratios of what your body requires. I don't know how else to say that. There's nothing on the planet that compares to that, having perfect mineral balance. What else? More on the nutrient profile. Ningxia wolfberry, extremely high in protein, super important. L-arginine. Let's talk about L-arginine just for a second. L-arginine reduces blood pressure. It stimulates growth hormone. It improves circulation. It's a key player in your immune system. Next, tyrosine. You need a lot of L-arginine. You need a lot of tyrosine. Tyrosine is a key player in dopamine production. One of the most prescribed types of medications would be like selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, things that increase dopamine production. We're talking antidepressants. And tyrosine is an amino acid that is a key player in dopamine production. And it would be nice to get that through a whole food source rather than artificially getting it through a man-made chemical, in my opinion. You are welcome to disagree with that. But again, dopamine is your mood neurochemical. And if you can have something like tyrosine that helps you not only with your mood, but your circadian rhythm, which means better sleep, preventing depression, not regulating, but enhancing your memory, tyrosine is the one you need. It has one of the highest percentages of fiber of any whole food on the planet, 21%. It's 21 grams of fiber per serving, 100 grams. It's 21% fiber, and you need a lot of fiber. We all do. All right. So I know all of you are muted right now, but here's more of the nutrient profile. The numbers are just crazy here. What do you think I want you to turn your attention to, though? Turn your attention to that sugar. 42 grams of sugar in a serving of Ningxia wolfberry. So if you were a nutrition scientist, what would you say? If you were talking to a diabetic and the diabetic said, I'm thinking of taking this Ningxia stuff. What do you think about it? Nutritionist, the nutrition scientist, the dietitian is going to see 42 grams of sugar and they're going to say, absolutely no way. Nobody should be taking that stuff, let alone a diabetic. So I'm here to say that that's understandable when we take a Western science approach to nutrition. But when you take a whole food approach and you dig a little deeper, you're going to find that it's quite the opposite of what they would say. So that sugar, let's get into this just a little bit. That sugar is primarily in the form of what's called the wolfberry polysaccharide. It's this huge, enormous protein carbohydrate complex. We're going to talk about this just a little bit later in just a little bit more detail. But I want you to know that not all sugars are created equal. So like I said, nutritional analysts would say that, man, this thing's 42% sugar by weight, this Ningxia wolfberry. A reductionist scientist is going to say, don't even touch that stuff with a 10-foot pole. But the so-called sugar in the wolfberry is, again, tied to this huge polysaccharide that consists of this is the key thing, non-glucose repeating chains of 5 different types of sugar. It's not glucose. It's nothing that even gets broken down in the form of glucose. It's arabinose, it's galactose, it's rhamnose, xylose, and mannose. These 5 sugars do not increase blood sugar levels. They're low glycemic, and they behave rather than acting like they behave like glucose or something high glycemic. They behave more like a slowly digested fiber, making them extremely low glycemic. And we'll talk about that just in a few minutes. So we got the sugar out of the way just for now. There is a lot of sugar. That sugar is all wrapped up in this polysaccharide. And if we took that polysaccharide out, you're going to find in just a few minutes that we would be taking out significant benefits of the Ningxia wolfberry itself. We wouldn't want to do that. Multivitamins. Ningxia wolfberry can actually serve as your multivitamin. Contains a crazy amount of exotic, unique phytonutrients that you're not going to find in very many other things on this planet. Things like zeaxanthin, lutein, beta-cryptoxanthin. Many of these things have been linked to cancer prevention. And yeah, I like to apologize right there, don't I? Yeah, so I do want to apologize. That was a ton of stuff. I still have a lot of stuff to cover, but I know those numbers. Nobody needs to memorize those numbers. The point of the matter is there's significant science backing up what the whole point of this is that everybody should be taking this on a daily basis, their entire family. Let's get more into antioxidants. This is crazy. Stanford University. So this is Western science. Hey, 2005, they did a study and they found that people with the weakest ability to scavenge what? Superoxide free radicals lived over a 35% shorter life. Can you say wow? I mean, we're not talking months. We're not talking a few years or even several years. We're talking if you have a weak ability to scavenge a superoxide free radical, that big free radical that's the majority of the free radicals in your body, like we were talking about, if you have a weak ability to scavenge that, you live decades less. You have 30, let's say we're supposed to live to 100. You have 35 years, a third of your life taken off just because of that. Now pay attention. Now glance over to the chart. There is nothing on the planet. I told you I was going to be saying this a lot. There's nothing on this planet that has been found to even come close to the antioxidant potential of the Ningxia wolfberry. Not even close. The one we see the most of in natural and organic foods today, if you go to a natural market or something, is the acai berry. I don't even like saying it like that. I always call it acai, but then I heard somebody that knew what they were talking about say it, and it's acai, the third one down. It's great. I mean, it's an ORAC of 184. It has high antioxidant potential. The Ningxia wolfberry is basically twice that almost. There's nothing even close. There's a variety of other Chinese wolfberries. They don't even come close. I mean, they're up there. They're definitely good for you, but nothing comes close. And again, if you get nothing else out of this talk, This is the key. This is what adds years to your life. Your ability to scavenge superoxide free radicals with antioxidants, with potent antioxidants. Oh, take a look at this study. They took 3 groups of rats, and I'm not even going to put this lightly. 2 groups. One group was just normal. It was just whatever you call it, the control group. So they just had rats there and then they didn't do anything with. The other 2 groups, they submerged the testicles in boiling hot water for 15 minutes. And there's a lot of DNA, there's a lot of hormones that are released in the testicles, and they're on the surface. So 15 minutes in hot water is enough to do a lot of damage and basically start killing that tissue. Take a look at these numbers. I mean, you see the normal animals at the top, what the normal numbers are. SOD is superoxide dismutase. That's what we want the most amount of. MDA is the tissue marker or tissue damage marker. Then you have the sex hormones, testosterone, luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone. When they're heat stressed, all those numbers are significantly changed. SOD goes down, the tissue damage goes up, and then all of the sex hormones drastically drop, right? But then when they're heat stressed, when their testicles are submerged and we'll just call it heated, they're treated with Ningxia wolfberries. They're basically given part of their diet is Ningxia wolfberries for a certain amount of time, and it's based on body weight. Their numbers went past normal for the better. Their SOD went way past normal SOD when it should have went way down. There's still tissue damage, as you can see. So that number isn't quite down to 0.78, it's 1.11. The sex hormones are all above normal when this tissue should be dying. This tissue should be partly dead, and their sex hormones are higher than normal. This is crazy. This is insane. Even the healing capabilities of this type of thing. And what they're attributing it to would be the antioxidant capability, which is basically freeing the free radicals, donating electrons to those free radicals, so the tissue damage isn't as much. Let's talk about Ningxia wolfberry versus superoxide. This is a crazy study. Pay attention to this slide. This is nuts. You don't have to remember all the numbers, but just get the point, please. 50 people were given just a half serving of wolfberries for just 10 days. We're talking a short period of time, not even a full serving per day. And their blood was evaluated, their SOD. Remember, the most important thing for longevity, their SOD leaped by 48%. There's 48% in 10 days with not even a full serving, like a half serving. There's nothing on the planet that can do that. I can promise. I'm waiting for some more noises to happen. And here's some research from Asia. I'm assuming China. Oh man, you guys probably saw that, an unstable connection. So this Kaohsiung Medical University studied water extracts were able to scavenge from 28.8% to 82.2% of superoxide free radicals. That may not mean that much to you, but get this, the concentrations were tiny, ranging from 0.77 to 2.55 parts per million. In percentage, look what that works out to. It's 0.000077% to 0.00025%. We're talking a cup of water with a tiny amount of Ningxia wolfberry extract in it. It does not take, you do not have to eat a ton of Ningxia wolfberries every week just to get these effects. We're talking minuscule amounts of Ningxia wolfberry can produce crazy, crazy health benefits. This is kind of the same thing. I want to focus on that minute amount. This is from Peking University. The amount of wolfberries in this extract was 0.025%. And what they found in a culture was that it allowed human lung cells to divide from the normal 49 times up to 61 times on average. Do you understand what that means, people? Do you understand what that means? Like this, we are talking about longevity here. It allowed tissue, namely lung tissue, to increase its lifespan by 22%. It's able to replicate 12 additional times within its lifespan. I mean, that's insane. I have no words for that study. Let's talk a little bit about immunity. I'm out of order here. Ningxia wolfberry is one of the richest sources of all carotenes, carotenoids. Obviously, we now know that those have significant immune boosting potential. Let's talk about that polysaccharide. Remember where the 42 grams of sugar per serving is? It's all tied up in this polysaccharide. And if we were a nutrition scientist, we would say, okay, I see that the Ningxia wolfberry is so super healthy and it has all this stuff, but it has all that sugar. So we are going to isolate that sugar. We're going to isolate that polysaccharide, take it out of the berry, and then give you the rest. But if we did that, if that was actually done, what they wouldn't realize is that it would take away the immune boosting, anti-cancer, and cardiovascular protective benefits. But that's what they want to do. That's what Western science is. Isolating one thing and thinking that that's either the only problem or the only solution. And it doesn't work. You need this protein carbohydrate complex for these benefits. Zinc. Many of us have heard of zinc. We take zinc supplements when we're getting sick. We're told to anyway. Zinc plays an enormous role in your immune system. Basically, everything in your immune system that needs, I don't want to say everything, but a great deal of items that your immune system, of materials that your immune system needs to do its job, you have to have zinc present in order for it to do those things, like create natural killer cells and macrophages and so many other components of your immune system. Take a look at this list. Hey, this is one thing I won't say Ningxia wolfberry is the highest known whole food source, the richest known whole food source. Oh, it's not. There are other things, but it's crazy high nonetheless. And the things that are above it, most of what's above it, me and my family try to stay away from as much as possible because they're higher glycemic. They're higher in sugar, which would create more free radicals, which is what we want to steer clear of. So it's not the richest whole food source, but it's certainly way up there on this list. All right, inflammation. A lady did a study on 3 things. Ningxia wolfberry, first of all, I'm back to this. It's one of the richest known whole food sources of all carotenoids, namely zeaxanthin and beta-cryptoxanthin, and it has 3 times the vitamin C of an orange. So this researcher, Dorothy Pattison, she found that people suffering from inflammatory arthritis, which is running rampant in our world, all over, these people were consuming up to 40% less of those 3 nutrients. Now, you might be thinking, hey, you sound a lot like a Western scientist now. You're isolating those 3 things. I know that sounds like what I've been talking against this whole time, but I'm not telling you to go to the store and find your zeaxanthin, find your isolated beta-cryptoxanthin, find a vitamin C supplement. I'm telling you, eat whole foods. I'm telling you, eat Eat the foods that have all of the other things that work synergistically with these three things that allow them to have the benefit rather than the harm. Cancer. What causes cancer? What's the number one risk factor? Free radical production. The stats are maddening. Of course, they're saddening. The stats are maddening. We know more about cancer now than ever. I mean, every day there's more research out about cancer. But there's never been a single day, week, month, year where cancer rates have gone down. What are they doing? They're continuing to go up. How can we know more information about something like this, especially something to do with health, but yet be worse off than ever? Maybe the information that we know is contributing to the problem. 1 in 2 men, 1 in 3 women. That's sickening. So the answer is simple. Western science, like I mentioned before, they've never sought to prevent the problem. But their goal is, after you get it, to figure out what the best solution is at that point. Nothing's ever been, all your research, the billions of dollars that go towards, breast cancer research every year, doesn't prevent breast cancer. It fights breast cancer. There's research that supports removing breast tissue and proactive drugs that people need to take, what they consider proactive drugs, and how to treat it after you get it. No research that you're supporting through those efforts, through conventional efforts, are going to prevention whatsoever. More on cancer. It's always an immune system issue. And it's always a free radical issue. Both of those things are addressed with the Ningxia wolfberry. Here's 2 quick examples. Gastric adenocarcinoma, stomach cancer, cervical carcinoma. These 2 things, in these studies, the gastric cancer presented in the presence of extracts. We're talking minuscule amounts of Ningxia wolfberry extracts, inhibited growth by 88.4% in stomach cancer. Cervical cancer, inhibited growth by 73.75%. That's unbelievable. We're talking minute amounts can inhibit growth by that much. Heart health, another thing that's sickening. Like half of Americans have some form of heart disease. We're talking kids as well. I mean, it's unbelievable. It costs a ton. What do you think the causes are? Oxidative stress, high blood sugar, inflammation, high blood pressure. What did I leave out? The one that we constantly hear about. Cholesterol. I don't want to get started on this. This is like a 90-minute talk in and of itself. There's myths on cholesterol. You can look them up and you can do your own research. Cholesterol gets a bad rap. It's oxidative stress, high blood sugar, inflammation, high blood pressure. If you want more information, I can certainly dish some out, or you can easily do a search and find out more about cholesterol. But just think of this. The people that are having heart attacks, half of them have no history of high cholesterol. The people that have high cholesterol, half of them have no signs of heart disease. And half of Americans have some form of heart disease. So there's absolutely never been a correlation between cholesterol and heart disease. I'll end it there. I'll end that part there. So here's what your heart needs. You need low glycemic foods. You need magnesium, you need potassium, you need calcium, chromium, L-arginine, niacin, and as much fiber as you can get. Again, there is nothing on this planet found up to this point that supplies each of those things to the extent of the Ningxia wolfberry. There's nothing. A a great piece of research done out of China shows that the Ningxia wolfberry polysaccharide, the most hated of all constituents of the Ningxia wolfberry in Western science, of course, because it's packed with sugar, reduced systolic blood pressure by 23% and diastolic blood pressure by 21%. It's unbelievable. Diabetes. So prior to 1981, there's no way that we could quantify how the sugar in specific foods, how it affected our blood sugar. At this point, people were finding that maybe table sugar wasn't the greatest thing, but when you mix it with a bunch of other stuff, like how bad is it mixed in other forms of food? They didn't have any way to quantify this. So you know what they developed? The glycemic index. And before I even get into this, just know far beyond the amount of sugar that you're consuming, the glycemic index of the foods that you're consuming is what matters in regards to blood sugar. Far beyond the amount of sugar. Unfortunately, the types of sugar that we consume in Western society, what were presented in most supermarkets, the types of sugars that are found on the label would be high glycemic. So it's almost interchangeable, but I want you to know that not all sugars are created equal, and you can have a lot of sugar packed into something, but if it's certain types of sugar, it has no effects. In fact, it can have the opposite effects as the other types of sugars, as glucose. So glycemic index is basically how fast the sugars get into and out of your blood. All foods, this is what it is, all foods are compared to glucose. Glucose gets into your bloodstream and out of your bloodstream, so you have a spike in blood sugar, and then you have a crash in your blood sugar very quickly. So eating the right foods, like I said, has a larger impact on your blood sugar control than any drugs, insulin. Eating low glycemic foods has a much larger impact on healthy blood sugar control than just limiting sugar intake as a whole. And again, the polysaccharide acts more like a slowly digested fiber. Even though it's got 42 grams of sugar, it's more like a slowly digested fiber. And I know I mentioned those sugars if you want to write them down. For those of you who like to take notes, arabinose, galactose, rhamnose, xylose, mannose. And they do not increase blood sugar levels like glucose does. Oh my gosh, I need to get back to this. I skipped over it. Look at this glycemic index. It's one of the lowest glycemic index of any whole food on the planet. So in this presentation, I've been talking about a lot of what's high in the Ningxia wolfberry. Well, in this case, it's one of the lowest, and that's what we want, 29. It's on the same level as lentils. I mean, come on. There's not too many whole foods that are lower than the Ningxia wolfberry. So what does this mean? Because the low glycemic index of the Ningxia wolfberry combined with these things, the chromium content, the fiber content, the taurine, magnesium, arginine, L-arginine, here's the thing. The Ningxia wolfberry, this is what nutritionists and dietitians have a hard time understanding. The Ningxia wolfberry is an unbelievable way to lower and maintain healthy blood sugar. It can actually help to lower blood sugar. All right, if you want to find out more about that, this book is full of hundreds of research articles, basically a synopsis of a ton of them just pieced together. This book is awesome. And what I'm leaving out today is the effects on vision and liver, depression, skin health, and many others. I want to finish up with this. This is super important, ellagic acid. One of the most potent liver toxins on the planet and cancer promoters is called aflatoxin B1, not ellagic acid. I titled the slide ellagic acid, but the toxin is aflatoxin B1, and it's everywhere. It's in our food, air, water. It's so lethal that some countries are stockpiling. You know why? Well, for chemical weapons. It's in all peanuts, all soybeans, nuts, grains, as well as any animal that's eating those things, which those things are often in the feed that we give most of our animals, unfortunately. So it's even in meat that we eat. So the bad news is that this, along with other cancer causers, we are literally subjecting ourselves to every single day. Every single day, we are getting bombarded with really what we shouldn't be getting. We shouldn't have these things, but just the nature of how industry and the farming industry has progressed, it's here, and it's here to stay. So here's the good news. Instead of worrying about aflatoxins, many people get in this habit of like, what do I do about this? How can I stay away from this? I'm not telling you have to stay away from aflatoxin. There's a couple other things, heterocyclic amines and polycyclic amines. If you read this paragraph, you'll see those words. Heterocyclic and polycyclic amines are from heated meats that are heated fast and at high temperatures. We're talking grilled meats, we're talking browned meats. And that's a bummer because I like to grill. In fact, I did it last night. I have to say that I don't do it as much as I used to because of this, because of knowing this. But I'm not asking you, and I wouldn't ask myself, to completely try to avoid every bad thing in our world. You can't do that. None of us can. But it's nice to have something daily that we utilize that can block the development of cancer and the damage that these things cause. And that would be ellagic acid. The Ningxia wolfberry combined with pomegranates is one of the most abundant sources of ellagic acid. Ningxia wolfberry has 86 milligrams of ellagic acid, 1,309 of phenolics per serving. More on, well, I don't really feel like I need to drive this home, but if you want me to. Ellagic acid deactivates cancer-causing chemicals, binds to and protects DNA from methylating carcinogens, and it amplifies the liver detoxification by increasing glutathione. Many people take glutathione supplements, which don't do a thing. You can't supplement with glutathione. Your body has to produce it for it to be effective. And ellagic acid helps with that production. So let's get right into it. What creates the ultimate superfood? This isn't my list. It's a list that I agree with. Must have ultra high antioxidant activity. It must be rich in vitamins and minerals. Whole foods. It must consist of whole foods, not isolated nutrients. And you know why now. Isolated nutrients can cause harm. Whole foods don't. Must combat candida, which, like many other things, is running rampant and destroying our guts and our brains. Must have low glycemic index. Must be anti-inflammatory and support the immune system. Think about this. When you activate your immune system, inflammation typically goes up because I don't want to say they're one and the same, but part of the immune response is inflammation. It's very rare to have something activate your immune system while keeping inflammation at bay. It must contain a synergy of phytochemicals. It must have high amounts of minerals. And remember, the ratios need to be perfect. It must have minimal processing, not heated and not chemically processed. And it must taste good for a lot of. I don't need it to taste good myself, but I know my wife Cammie needs things to taste good if she's going to keep taking them. And most people do. So it's got to taste good for you to take it over a long duration every day. So what are we talking about? You know what we're talking about. Ningxia Red. It's got the puree of Ningxia wolfberry. Remember, you don't need a lot of this stuff. You don't need to drink a bottle a day. If I'm getting sick, excuse me. Oh, that was perfect timing. I'm not really getting sick. It just sounded like that. But if I felt like maybe a little under the weather at times, I might take a quarter of a bottle or a half bottle, but literally an ounce is a serving size of this stuff, an ounce. So what's in this is a puree of wolfberries, a puree of pomegranates, blueberries, plum, cherry, aronia. It's also got citrus seed to seal oils, which are in there for basically because they aid in cell repair, circulation, and brain health, cognitive benefits. So if you've never tried Ningxia Red, get this on your next ER order. If there's one thing that we are limited to investing in for me and my family, if there's one thing, it would be this. If I had to drop everything else and take one supplement, consume a supplement for our health every single day, it would be this. And I didn't say that a while ago. I haven't said that for a long period of time. I said that after I did the research for this. There's nothing that can compare to this stuff. So get this on your next ER order. Use your points, next month or this month to get this stuff for free. If you don't know what ER is, if you don't know what ER points are where you can get stuff for free, then message me, message Cami on this page, Cami Bear, and figure out what that means. But you need this stuff daily if you are looking for a multivitamin, if you're looking for anything that we just discussed. This is it. This is the one thing to take daily. So I'm going to end it there. I will be posting this in Bear Essentials. You are welcome to make any sort of comments you want. And then or questions if I didn't cover something that you wanted me to, and we'll get all your questions answered there. Have a great day.